What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And those of you that know me know that I'm not a big fan of judicial system and the way that it elevates these judges, especially Supreme Court justices. I've long been an advocate for judicial oversight. No one should be above the law and no person should be allowed to act with impunity. I also don't like the concept of lifetime appointees. The whole concept seems to defy democracy, and it is an outdated practice that needs to be amended. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for judges. I do believe that they should be respected, but that doesn't mean that they should be untouchable like the way that they are now. Let's take, for example, Justice Clarence Thomas. He was appointed to the Supreme Court despite the fact that he was credibly accused of sexual harassment by well-respected Professor Anita Hill. And let's also take, Brett Kavanaugh. He too was appointed to the Supreme Court despite credible sexual assault allegations by multiple women, not to mention the financial questions that have still not been answered by the FBI. Now, let me tell you guys something that's going to shock you. But before I do, I need to take a moment and ask a favor. My team and I have been working around the clock to deliver you guys news and insight that you won't get anywhere else. So if you don't mind, hit the subscribe button and write in the comment section and let us know how you think we're doing. Now back to the story, and this is going to shock you. Supreme Court justices can essentially do whatever they want, like meet with lawyers who present to them in private prior to the hearing. They dine and vacation with them. This is how lobbying takes place at the Supreme Court level. Special interest groups file erroneous lawsuits, and due to their connections, they get it presented in front of the Supreme Court. Did you think lobbyists only go after politicians? Oh no, they have their teeth sucked into the Supreme Court, and no one even raises an eye at this very questionable practice. Now let's get back to Clarence Thomas's wife and her very sketchy ties to these alt-right groups.
A new and blistering report in The New Yorker. It highlights how his wife, Virginia Ginny Thomas, has become a growing issue for the court. And I quote from it. It says, "Her political activism has caused controversy for years. For the most part, it has been dismissed as the harmless action of an independent spouse. But now the court appears likely to secure victories for her allies in a number of highly polarizing cases on abortion, affirmative action, gun rights." SCOTUS is facing a huge abortion case right now. Mark Meadows could end up before the court if he keeps fighting the subpoena. There are some of the biggest issues before the court right now. How alarmed is the legal community about her influence?
I think quite. I mean, and that was one of the interesting things, was talking to many of the most kind of respected experts on judicial ethics, people like Stephen Gillers at New York University, who's kind of the gold standard for this, who said, and he's always very cautious about what he said, but he said what she's doing is reprehensible. And what he said was that it's hurting the administration of justice, because when you look at the rules for how judges behave, it's not just that they are supposed to have no conflicts, but it's also considered just as important that they have no appearance of conflicts, because the appearance of justice is important for the public's trust in the courts. And this kind of behavior undermines it. And it's forbidden, really, for all the lower courts beneath the Supreme Court. There's a judicial code of ethics that binds the lower courts, but the justices in the Supreme Court hold themselves above the ethics code and say that it's basically optional for them.
Credible reports have emerged that Clarence Thomas's wife financed buses for the insurrectionists who stormed our nation's capital, and yet the FBI has not arrested her. Why is that? I would like some answers into that, and I'm sure so would 81 million Americans who almost had our votes stolen. This is America, and we should not have two sets of laws, one for the rich and powerful, and then one set for the rest of us. It is imperative that Attorney General Merrick Garland investigate this matter so we don't lose our hope in our criminal justice system. Now, we should use this as an opportunity to unite on why we need judicial reform in America. Judges should not be above the law and should have their cases reviewed publicly and regularly. Lifetime appointments should be a thing of the past, and we need to make the process of appointing judges a lot less political. Lastly, extremist right-wing judges need to be removed from the bench, including those sitting in the highest court of the land. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.